Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Pap, Commissioner Beamsterfer.
Here. Thank you. Commissioner Hill, will you be able to do invocation and flag salutes?
Let's do the invocation first. Lord, we ask that you bless this new planning commission as we go forward and give us the wisdom and knowledge to make the wise decisions we need for the city of Hemet. In your name we pray, amen. Join me in the flag salute. United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to number 4, oath of office for commissioners, city clerk, mayor.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm John Plummeyer, your city clerk, and tonight I'll be providing your oath of office. And so if you all will please stand, I did provide you the oaths of office in front of you if you'd like to read or repeat after me when I say start. So if you'll all raise your right hand. I, insert name. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California.
that I take this obligation freely
Take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, Commissioners, and if you'll sign, it'll be official that you've been sworn in.
Woohoo!
Just one for you.
You. All right, moving on to number 5, nomination and election of planning commission chair. Are there any nominations for chair?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Jacob Beamsdorfer for chair.
Do we have a second?
Second it.
And I need to, well, there's a motion and a second. Whenever needs to vote, correct? Does everybody need a vote?
A unanimous vote.
On number 6, nomination for vice chair.
I'll nominate Emery Papps as vice chair.
I second it. The vote is unanimous. For Emery Pap as vice chair.
And now, number 7, brief recess for the commissioners to get situated properly. We're going to move on to agenda item number 8. This is the public comment period for items not on the agenda. Are there any members of the public present that would like to provide a comment? You can approach the podium and state your name.
Can you hear me? No, no. I just want to congratulate all of you, the chairman, the vice chairman, commissioners, and let you know that we're excited to have you, and we believe that you are probably the best planning commission that we've ever had in my time. It's only a year. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Anybody else? Are there any members of the public joining via conference or Zoom that would like to comment?
I don't show anyone online requesting to speak, and I did not receive any e-comments.
Number 9, Planning Commission team building exercise.
What is that?
Good evening, Commissioners. We would like to begin this meeting with a Planning Commission team building exercise. And this is intended to help each member learn a little bit more about each other as we begin working together as a newly seated Planning Commission. So we'll get started with the questions are, and we can start with Commissioner Clark, moving through the commission, Commissioner Ochoa, Commissioner Dana Hill, Emery, Vice Chair Emery Papp, and then Chair, if you would like to, in that order, and then Chair Beamsturfer. We would ask that you would provide answers to 3 questions. The first question is, how many years you've lived in the Valley? The second would be, what is your dream vacation? And the third is, what hidden talent or skill would someone not know about you? So we'll begin with Commissioner Clark.
Well, I've lived here for right now 7 years, but of course I was born and raised here. My dream vacation, New Orleans. I've been there. I enjoy the architecture, and if I could just get on a bus and go through the French Quarter and the Garden District and just peruse, that would be ideal to me. And what hidden talent? I like to build things. I'm a woodworking skill saw router girl.
I've lived in the valley for about 36 years, just over 36 years, continuously in the house that I live in since December 1999, so coming up on 24 years. Dream vacation would be Italy. Probably ride my bike through the countryside, maybe from Milan to San Remo. And a hidden talent, I can actually solve the Rubik's Cube. It comes in handy.
Okay. Okay, how many years have I lived in the valley? 9 years in the valley. Dream vacation? I would say me and my boys going to every ballpark for one summer, every major league ballpark. Hidden talent, I'm a woodworker as well. Built cabinets and all kinds of things. Got a lot to talk about.
Well, I've lived in the valley since 1991. Although the first year was in San Jacinto, so please don't hold that against me. I've owned 3 homes in Hemet continuously since 1991. My dream vacation would be a Viking river cruise down the Danube in Europe. I have family in Hungary, and I would love to be able to visit with them again. And my hidden talent that many of you may not know is that I like to tinker with automobiles. I have a 1942 Chevrolet 3/4-ton pickup truck in storage in Carson City, Nevada that I'm just dying to bring home and start working on.
I've been in Hemet for 41 years, and my dream vacation would be an Arctic expedition on an icebreaker boat. I would love that. And my hidden talent is, well, I like cooking, and I do well with gardening. Is something, a lot of things just don't die when I take care of them.
Thank you very much. That was awesome.
Okay, and number 10, receive and file. The manager.
All right. Good evening, everyone. That was a really nice introduction to my presentation. And tonight is obviously a little different, right? It's a starting point for the new Planning Commission. And we wanted to take an opportunity to help you get to know each other a little bit. I'm going to spend about 15 minutes or so, happy to answer any questions after that, on attributes of highly effective legislative bodies like this Planning Commission. Think of that as a conversation on governance. And then we're going to walk through some rules and roles with our city attorney. So to begin with, before we jump to the next slide, I've titled this Attributes of Exceptional Commissions, and I've borrowed a little bit, quite a bit actually, from an organization called the Institute for Local Government. They are a think tank of the League of California Cities. You may hear of Cal Cities. The League of California Cities and the California State Association of Counties have worked with this organization that was essentially a 501c3, and they've over time become a think tank for local government, both cities, counties, and special districts. And they put out documents, publications that are helpful for all of us. They have some on leadership and governance, and that's what I'm drawing from on today's presentation. But on their website, which is, by the way, ca-ilg.org, they also have information about planning and land use. So just to look at their individual page here, we see links, and there are additional resources under these headings, but healthy communities, land use and planning, community health partnerships, resource center, healthy neighborhoods, land use and environment, engaging the public in planning, housing, and sustainability, and creating safe walking and bicycling communities, safe routes to school decision makers toolkit. So just know that they're a resource for our staff. They're also a resource for you. Let's go to the next slide.
Excuse me, Mark.
Sure.
What was that website again?
The website is ca-ilg, Institute for Local Government.org.
Thank you.
So taking some time annually for a discussion about governance is really a best practice in our form of government, the council manager form of government. The council establishes policies. They often work with, well, they will work with committees and commissions and boards to seek recommendations. And with the planning commission, you're essentially a quasi legislative body, right? You have decision-making ability, but you also, particularly under the updated rules in our municipal code, you also the council will call upon you to provide recommendations to them for policy matters. So you're a little bit of both on the decision-making side with land use, but also recommending on a variety of fronts. I've distributed a copy of Ordinance 2020. And if you look to page 4 on that ordinance, you'll see these are the actual rules and responsibilities, roles and responsibilities for the Planning Commission. There are 6, but they're very general. And we're not going to get into the finer details today. I just want you to know that that's essentially the blueprint for the roles and responsibilities of this commission. And you have a copy with you on the dais. But today I'm going to talk to you about essentially 7 principles that I've talked to a lot of committees and commissions about. I think this is every time I found that the effort made at the beginning of the year to sit down and talk, it generally results in a smoother operation, I think, for staff as well as commission and committee members. So let's jump right in. And I'm going to probably add to a little bit of what you see here. So these are attributes of exceptional commissions. This is adopted from a document called Attributes of Effective Boards. There's also one, and that really refers to county elected boards, as well as city councils. But I've taken some of those ideas and adapted them for the work that you do. So exceptional commissions develop a sense of team. And that's exactly what we started with tonight, right? Was learning a little bit more about each other. If we were offsite and not in this room, we'd probably have this meeting in a circle. And we would get out of our seats and we'd probably do a little more team building and a few more exercises. But the idea is we're going to be working together, the commissioners, the staff, and working on behalf of the public and the city council. It's important that issues that come to you, and you'll have a lot of opinions, right? You'll have people on different sides of issues, that we don't personalize these issues, but rather we focus on thoughtful dialogue. That's really our objective. Exceptional teams value diversity of style and perspective. Everyone strives to be civil and act with decorum. And what I like to tell commissioners as well as the city council, when we met on day 3, after I arrived, we had the same type of conversation. Today, younger people in our community, others that aspire to the leadership roles that you have, they're watching, right? They're learning from the work that you do. It's important that we set a great example for them, our future leaders, on how we expect our policymaking activities to take place. Because if we're the city that will shout at each other at a meeting like this, we'll be on television and others will see that. That's not the organization that we want to be a part of. We want to aspire to agree to disagree, but agree in a civil way. That's the point. And I'm also reminded that as a youngster, I was one of my assignments in class was to attend a meeting like this. I went to the Hemet Unified School District. After the item that I was there to do a report on, I think it was probably item 5, and by item 11, I asked the person next to me, what happened to item 5? And she said, well, that was part of the consent calendar. It's over now. And I learned as part of that process. But today, I'm sure that children if they're not here in person, they may be online, or they may be watching a videotape of this meeting tonight, right, in the future. So just know we have an opportunity to set a good example as we lead this organization. Second item up here. Exceptional commissions have clear roles and responsibilities that are understood and adhered to. I passed out this municipal code. It's Article 4, Division 5. That's this formal item, and on page 4, it enumerates what those roles are. Tonight, we're going to learn more about the Brown Act, and many of you are familiar with that. as well as council. I want to let you know that we have council protocols under development. Some of what I'm talking about are the same types of themes that you'll see in council protocols about working together. But those are council protocols that will be adopted that will also have some expectations for members of our boards and commissions and committees. Okay, next slide. I think I went too far. There we go. That's right. Okay. All right. Honor the relationship with staff and each other. So the staff liaison is Monique. And Monique, think of Monique as similar to my role with the city council, right? This is the person that you're going to be working with on a daily basis, a weekly basis. It's important that we work with the staff liaison in a coordinated and collaborative manner with mutual respect, trust, and openness. Building this relationship on mutual trust is important, and it's important also to help. I think it helps when we have a no surprise, no secrets type of an approach as an operating norm. So what I mean by that is it's hard for us sometimes. We want to be able to provide you information and answers to your questions. And there may be times where you have a question before the meeting, but it might require a bit of research on our end. So to the extent we can help you get an answer to that question and give us a little bit of lead time to go find the answer, it's helpful to know that question in advance. Now, that's not always going to happen. It's okay if it doesn't. It's a best practice if we can get there. Sometimes we won't publish our agendas until 72 hours before a meeting. You may not have a chance to read it until the day of, right? Or a couple hours before. And so we understand that those things happen too. But to the extent that we can, if you have questions that it would be helpful to get an answer to, it helps for us to know those questions in advance if possible. If you're not going to be able to attend a meeting, please let Monique know. If we have more than 3 of you that can't attend a meeting, then we'll cancel that meeting and we'll work on a different date to reschedule it. So we just want to try to work as coordinated as we possibly can. But we're your partner in helping to move the work of the city forward in a positive and efficient way. Exceptional commissions hold themselves accountable. In this case, I'm referring to operating protocols. So you'll see those formal protocols down the road, probably in the new year. After it moves to council, we'll share those with all of our boards and committees and make sure that you're aware of what those are. Team building is, as it's referenced here, it's a best practice exercise. It's obviously something we did tonight. We would come back to you a year from now and do that again. And we'll probably have three different questions for you next time, right? And when it's appropriate, always a good opportunity, always helpful to celebrate success. Okay, meetings. Exceptional commissions routinely conduct and master the art of effective meetings. They honor the public's participation and engagement, and their meetings generally start on time and end on time. So I've been a city manager of a city that I think had a planning commission that went till about 2 a.m. one day. This was in a city where the citizens had a lot of voice over the design of houses. And I can tell you that's not an effective meeting because no one makes good decisions at 2 a.m. in the morning. This is a meeting that starts at 6. Typically, I would expect meetings like this to end by 10-ish, maybe 9 for an effective meeting. And after about 10, people get tired. You have a drive home. The staff has a drive home. The public's weary. That's either in person or sometimes watching on video. So making sure that your meetings are focused, they're crisp, it helps us get out on time and helps you avoid having a late night meeting where some of those decisions may be coming late. In fact, the city council has a requirement that they take a vote after a certain hour in order to continue the meeting. So you do have as an opportunity, should you want operating protocols, you have the right to develop some of those for yourself, but that's an example of one that you could. Following parliamentary procedure as you did tonight in the selection of your chair and the vice chair is very helpful. What I will tell you is sometimes you'll be tempted, this is an example, But outside the form of parliamentary procedure, let's say that you have a controversial item and someone has thought of something new and they're begging for an opportunity to talk, right? They would like, but they've already approached the podium. They've already provided their 3 minutes of public testimony. And they're asking the chair for an opportunity to speak for another couple minutes, just briefly on the same topic because they thought of something new or someone said something that they have an important topic on. It's permissible for the chair to allow that, but sometimes there's a slippery slope. Sometimes I was in a meeting where not in this city, but in a different city where the mayor felt it was appropriate to seek, to allow someone to speak the second time. But what happened, and we had talked about this before the meeting, that this is generally not a good idea. But what happened is everyone else that was at this public meeting, it was a special meeting to talk about a big issue. So we had a crowd of about 30 or 40 people. I think at least 10 more hands went up after that one person was granted the opportunity to talk, and the meeting was guaranteed another hour of dialogue. So generally adhering to these principles where you have a certain amount of time to speak, that's the time to speak, and then we move on is a more efficient way of managing that meeting. And the consequences, sometimes the chair has the potential to lose control of the discipline of the meeting, and that's the item that you want to guard against. Exceptional board members prepare in advance of the meeting. Now I know that sometimes you're going to have probably over 1,000 pages of literature to read. There's enormous work that comes to you on a regular basis. So to the extent you can go through all of that in advance, I know it's a lot of work. It's very much appreciated on our part if you're able to navigate through that. And if you have questions, please let us know. And we reference that again here at the bottom. Okay. Exceptional commissions have members who practice continual personal learning and development. There are numerous opportunities for professional growth and particularly planning commissioner training. And we do want to recommend that you attend that type of training, even as refresher training. Laws are changing on a regular basis. We know that, especially in your area of expertise. This land use and planning, housing are areas where California state law has changed and evolved a lot just in the last couple of years. So as we build next year's budget, we want to make sure that we're working with you, listening to you, talking to you about professional development opportunities and incorporating that into our budget document for approval next July. Exceptional commissions will make the public feel most comfortable if the public feels like they are treated with respect, if the public has a fair and equitable opportunity to share their points of view, if they feel that members are listening to what they have to say with an open mind. And I know that sometimes you'll see operating protocols in certain cities where there'll be guidance on cell phones and eye contact with the speaker and the way your body is actually presented to the speaker. You're all doing a great job tonight. I'm going to give you all an A. Appreciate that. But on those long meetings, just know that the speakers really do appreciate when you are watching them, and especially when you're listening. And of course, they feel comfortable if they never hear or feel a personal attack of any kind. Really, their comments are for you to receive. You consider those as part of your overall decision making. So that's it. This is my direct cell phone, and you're welcome to contact me on this at any time. This is my email address. I have cards that I can leave behind, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. If you have any.
Anybody have any questions for our city manager? Not at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Keep that up there for a little bit so I can write that down. I'm sure we can go back to. Anyway. Thank you, Mark. That was helpful. Moving on to number 11, department reports. 10B, presentation from our city attorney regarding the Brown Act and the scope of planning commission.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Layla Sarwari. I'm the Assistant City Attorney from the City Attorney's Office. Tonight, I'll be providing you with a brief overview of land use and the Brown Act. I've been advised by the City Attorney that he will be providing you with a 2-hour in-depth presentation of the Brown Act, which should cover, let me check, which would cover public ethics, transparency laws, and due process and financial disclosures at a later date. But for tonight, we'll be doing a brief overview of the Land Use 101. This is our disclaimer. State law is the foundation for local planning in California. The California Government Code contains many of the laws pertaining to the regulation of land uses by local governments, including the general plan requirement, specific plans, subdivisions, and zoning. The City of Hemet Planning Department is tasked with creating and implementing plans, policies, and programs that helps realize the vision of Hemet as a collection of healthy and sustainable communities. The land use begins with the premise that the city has the police power to protect the public health, safety, and welfare of its residents. This right is set forth in the California Constitution, which states a county or city may make and enforce within its city limits all local police, sanitary, and other ordinances and regulations not in conflict with general laws. The general plan, specific plan, and zoning regulations. The general plan. There are currently 533 incorporated cities and counties in California. State law requires each of these jurisdictions to prepare and adopt a comprehensive long-term general plan for the physical development of the city and of any land outside its boundaries. The general plan is the constitution for development. For example, imagine that the general plan is a book composed of chapters, commonly referred to as elements. In the city of Hemet, we currently have 10 elements. Under the Government Code, Section 65302, each general plan must include the following elements: land use element, circulation element, housing element, conservation element, open space element, noise element, safety element, air quality, and environmental justice element. This is the duplicate side. I'm going to go with it. So the city of Hemet has the following elements. They have 10, all of which are part of what is required under the Government Code. Further explained, the framework is the city's chief land use document. Imagine the framework element as an umbrella element that sets the vision for the general plan. While the framework is an overarching document that sets policies in place and informs other elements of the general plan, it is the land use element that dives further into neighborhood policies. What is a specific plan? A specific plan is a hybrid document that acts as a bridge between the general zoning regulations for future development of a particular area. Under the Government Code, it states that a city may prepare a specific plan for the systematic implementation of the general plan. A specific plan is adopted in the same manner as a general plan, which is also considered a legislative act. Specific plan continued. So what is the point of a specific plan? It is primarily a tool that public agencies and developers use to achieve better specificity on the vision and development potential of a particular tract of land, without having to go through extensive site-specific land use analysis and entitlement proceedings. It's programmatic in nature and usually deals with major infrastructure development and conservation standards and includes implementation program. Often a specific plan will establish the look and feel of what a future development on the property will be, and it can provide a more clear and refined division of the perimeters in which development will be allowed and responsibilities for major infrastructure area developers will be expected to fulfill. Specific plans can be very useful to agencies in setting realistic development expectations and signaling important big picture limitations or constraints unique to a particular area. they can be very useful to developers in helping to size the potential and cost of development. Zoning. The general plan is a long-range policy document that looks at the future of the community, while a zoning ordinance is the local law that spells out the immediate allowable uses for each piece of property within the community. The purpose of a zoning is to implement the policies of the general plan. Under the concept of zoning, various kinds of land uses are grouped into general categories or zones, such as single-family residential, multifamily, neighborhood, light industrial, agricultural, etc. A typical zoning ordinance describes 20 or more different zones, which may be applied to land within the community. Each piece of property in the community is assigned a zone, listing the kinds of uses that will be allowed on that land and setting standards such as minimum lot size, maximum building height, and minimum setbacks. The distribution of residential, commercial, industrial, and other zones will be based on a pattern of land uses established in the community's general plan. Maps are used to keep track of zoning for each piece of land. Variances. A variance is a limited waiver of development standards for use that is otherwise permitted in that zone. The city or county may grant a variance in very special cases where, number one, application of the zoning regulations would deprive the property of the uses enjoyed by nearby similarly zoned lands, and two, restrictions have been imposed to ensure that the variance will not be a grant of special privilege. A city or a county may not grant a variance that would permit a use that is not otherwise allowed in that zone. For example, a commercial use could not be approved in a residential zone by variance. Typically, variances are considered when the physical characteristics of the property make it difficult to develop. Variance requests require a public hearing and neighbors to be given an opportunity to testify. The local hearing body then decides whether to approve or deny the variance. Conditional use permits, also known as CUPs. Most zoning ordinances identify certain land uses which do not precisely fit into existing zones, but which may be allowed upon approval of a conditional use permit. These might include community facilities such as hospitals or schools, public buildings or grounds, temporary or hard to classify uses such as Christmas tree sales or small engine repair, or land uses which potentially significant environmental impacts. The local zoning ordinance specifies those uses for which a conditional use permit may be requested, which zones they may be requested in, and the public hearing procedure. As with variances, a public hearing must be held to consider a CUP. If the local planning commission or zoning ordinance approves the use, it will usually do so subject to certain conditions being met by the permit applicant. Alternately, it may deny uses which do not meet local standards. Subdivisions. In general, land cannot be divided in California without local government approval. Dividing land for sale, lease, or financing is regulated by local ordinances based on the State Subdivision Map Act. The local general plan, zoning, subdivision, and other ordinances govern the design of the subdivision, the size of its lots, and the types of improvements. In addition, the city may impose a variety of fees upon the subdivision depending on the local and regional needs, such as school impact fees, park fees, etc. Developers can contact the planning department for information on local requirements and procedures. There are basically two types of subdivisions. Number one, parcel maps, which are limited to divisions resulting in fewer than 5 lots. Number two, subdivision maps, also called tract maps, which apply to divisions resulting in 5 or more lots. Applicants for both types of land divisions must be submitted to the local government for consideration in accordance to the local subdivision ordinance and the Subdivision Map Act. Hearings and due process. The due process clause of the 14th Amendment is inextricably intertwined with land use law. Due process requires reasonable notice and an opportunity to be heard by an impartial decision maker for administrative proceedings that affect liberty or property interests. Due process issues can be fairly apparent, for example, in the case of an issuance or revocation of a conditional use permit. State law requires that local governments hold public hearings prior to most planning actions. At the hearing, the council, board, or advisory commission will explain the proposal considered in light of local regulations and environmental effects and listen to testimony from interested parties. The council, board, or commission will vote on the proposal at the conclusion of the hearing. In the city of Hemet, the planning commission serves as an advisory role, hears planning actions, and provides its recommendations prior to go before city council. The city council is the ultimate decision maker of planning actions. And that concludes my training on land use.
Does anybody have any questions for our attorney, Sawari? The attorney.
Not at this time.
Now we are here for the Brown Act. This is a very light overview. So we'll just get into it. So what is the Brown Act? I'm sure everyone is aware of what the Brown Act is. It is a state law that has established procedural framework for members of local government decision-making bodies to openly meet, debate, and act. The act is designed to ensure that the public is informed about the views, discussions, and actions of elected officials. So why was the Brown Act enacted? Basically, government officials are elected by the people, represent the people, and govern on behalf of the people. Who does the Brown Act cover? All legislative bodies of the public agency. For cities, this includes city council and any advisory standing subcommittees created by the city council. The Brown Act also covers resident boards, commissions such as Planning Commission. For special districts, this includes the board of directors along with any subcommittees created by the board. Individuals are subject to Brown Act upon appointment or election, even if they have not yet assumed office. What is a meeting? A meeting occurs when a majority of the members of the legislative body are present at the same time and place to hear, discuss, or deliberate the business of the council. This includes through the use of technology and is interpreted broadly. There are limited exceptions to the definition of a meeting, such as conferences, trainings, workshops, community forums, and meetings of other governmental bodies, social or ceremonial occasions. Prohibited meetings. A majority of body may not use a telephone, fax machine, email, or intermediary or any other method to discuss, deliberate, or take action. A serial meeting is a series of communications of any kind, directly or through intermediaries, to discuss, deliberate, or take action, each of which involves less than a majority of the body, but when taken together involves a majority. What are acceptable communications? Attorney-client communications, one-way communications by staff to individual members, individual contacts by a member with constituents, staff, consultants, or colleague. Meetings must be accessible to the public. Meeting must be held in a location within the agency's boundaries. Meetings must be held in an ADA accessible location. Agency cannot require attendees to sign an attendance sheet or even identify themselves as a condition of attendance. Meetings must involve the public. Restrictions on public comment must be reasonable and may include time limits, such as I believe it's 3 minutes in the city of Hemet. Criticism of the agency cannot be prohibited. Public is permitted to record or broadcast the proceedings so long as the activity is not disruptive. Public must have access to all copies of the backup material. There are different types of meetings. Primarily, the Planning Commission will just deal with regular meetings mostly, or special meetings like tonight. A regular meeting occurs on the normally scheduled day of the board. For example, the first or third Wednesday of the month. For Hemet's Planning Commission, it is held every other Tuesday. A regular meeting may cover any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board and must include public comment for items not on the agenda. A special meeting like tonight is any meeting other than a regular meeting. There are oftentimes set on days separate from the regular meeting day to discuss a specific topic in depth, such as the budget. A special meeting may cover any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, but does not need to include public comment for items not on the agenda. There are other types of meetings such as adjourned meetings. An adjourned meeting is an either regular or special meeting that is reconvened after being properly adjourned to a new date. So those are the 4 possible types of meetings. Section 3, agendas. Notice, essential to the public's ability to monitor and participate in governmental decisions. The public must have knowledge of what is going to be discussed and when. Notice is given by the posted agenda. The agenda is posted in a public place on the agency's website and mailed to the persons who request notice. A regular meeting agenda must be posted at least 72 hours in advance of a regular meeting. Adjourn meetings, when a meeting is adjourned, the meeting is adjourned to the time and place specified on the order of adjournment. If the meeting is adjourned for less than 5 days, there are no requirement that a new agenda be posted, but the order of adjournment must be posted within 24 hours. I don't believe the Planning Commission deals with adjourned meetings too much. Special meetings, agenda must be posted at least 24 hours in advance of a special meeting and delivered to each member of the press. Emergency meetings, the 24-hour advance posting requirement can be waived in the case of an emergency situation which require immediate action, such as work stoppage, crippling activity, health, safety, natural disaster, terrorist attack. Non-agenda items, the body is generally prohibited from discussing items not on the agenda unless the majority decides an emergency situation exists, 2/3 of the members are present when the item appeared on the agenda for an adjourned meeting from less than 5 days prior. Continued, members of the board and staff may briefly respond to comments or questions made by the public during the public comment, even though the item is not on the agenda. Council members may also direct the staff, issue to staff, provide brief factual information or refer item to future agenda. Members may also make brief announcement and report on their own activities. Requirements of the agenda, it must contain a brief description of every item to be discussed. While brief, the description should be clear enough to be understood by members of the public. Regular meeting agenda must include time for public comment. Closed session is not really, we don't have closed sessions in Planning Commission, so I just included that to be part of the whole flow of the Brown Act, so we can skip through that. Enforcement, civil enforcement and cure demands. If the agency acts in a manner that is perceived to be in violation of the Brown Act, the following may occur. While this is this is an area that rarely happens, but I just wanted to give you what can happen. The district attorney or any interested person may seek judicial determination that the action was improper. Prior to judicial determination, a request must be made to cure the alleged defect, which 90% of the times happens. If the defect is cured, then any request for judicial determination will be denied. Criminal enforcement in closed session, this doesn't apply, so I'll go through this. And in conclusion, recent updates. I know there will be more recent updates as the new year approaches. The current COVID-19 modifications under AB 361, it is anticipated that provision will go inactive February 28th, 2023, which it has, and the state of emergency did end. AB 2449 allows remote participation without posting address opening to public in limited circumstances. And AB 992 prohibits members from responding directly to any communication of an internet-based social media platform regarding a matter that is within the subject matter jurisdiction from another member. So pretty much Instagram likes, the heart button, that's prohibited by each member, because that taken as a whole can be considered as a meeting. Criminal enforcement in closed session. I'm going to pass through this, and that concludes it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Swery. Does anybody have any questions about the Brown Act for our city attorney?
I do have one question. In there, it's talked about special meetings and notifying the public and the press.
Right.
The press, I mean, are we
That's
just
mostly-
publishing things on
That
the
doesn't apply.
website and that's
Yeah,
it?
Yeah, that doesn't really apply to the planning commission. That's more of a city council issue. But the press means
Just the website?
website, yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions?
With permission, if you mind, briefly, I think one area where we sometimes see committees and commissioners get in trouble is with email. When a citizen may, and I want to share this just because it happens a lot, and we've had the conversation with different committees and commissions over the years, but imagine a scenario where you're the recipient of an email, you're all copied on the email, and someone is demanding an answer to a question. And you respond, but you respond to everyone. That is a violation of the Brown Act, and the city attorney is nodding.
Yes.
That's inappropriate. What we would like you to do is not respond to that, but what's appropriate for situations where you want information to go out is to have our staff send the email to information only to whoever needs information. Sometimes you may have information that you want others on the commission to see and review. Again, please send that to Monique. She can provide an information-only email so that we comply with the Brown Act. You're not in a position where you've shared something on a topic with your fellow commissioners. So think of you can always refer the emails related to policy matters to staff, and we can inventory what those issues are, summarize those before your meetings, and share that in aggregate with you. But please refer those types of emails to staff. And with emails where you want to share something, we're happy to, again, send that out on your behalf. But I think that's an area where we find sometimes we have to remind you that's not appropriate. We'll jump in and we'll let you know. We'll probably contact you directly if we see something like that. But just know that we'll jump in and try to help it in moments like that. And that's really an example of curing it too. As we step in, we're working with you to cure and remedy the problem.
Thank you so much.
My question is related to our contact information. So if I understand correctly, the city will post whatever personal information that we requested on our application to be posted. That might include a cell phone number or an email address. So is it possible that our personal email address could be subject to public records requests?
Well, if it's disclosed to the public, yes.
Thought I'd point out for my colleagues that I created an account just for this position. I use it for no other business.
And I believe you're going to get a city email as well I know we had our email. So you'll be having that as well for the city.
I'm not 100% certain on that. I know the policy has gone back and forth on that. I would have to confirm if you will be issued a City of Hemet email.
Any other questions? Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item 11A, City Attorney Reports. City Attorney Swery.
And nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. And off to agenda item 11B, Community Development Reports. So our Director, Monique Alanis Flechter. Was it Flechter?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge, in addition to the attendance of our mayor, our city manager, city clerk, our council liaison Kendrick is here this evening. Thank you for attending. Also, I wanted to introduce you to some of our community development planning staff. We have Nathan Morin, who is our planning technician. We have our senior planner consultant to the city, Augustine Resendez Villarreal. And we have also this evening our associate planner, Soledad Carrizosa, who's also here this evening. The planner that's not present tonight is our new assistant planner, who was Jordan Walton. So you'll be able to meet all of our staff as they come on board and bring projects to the Planning Commission. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Item 11C, future agenda items. Director Monique Alanis Flechter.
Thank you. So upcoming for the December 5th Planning Commission meeting, we do have 3 scheduled public hearings that have been noticed for public hearing. One is Rancho Diamante tentative parcel map. So that will be including subject matter involving the Subdivision Map Act and lot line adjustments, lot mergers, lot splits. So that'll be your first subdivision related project as a commission. We have a conditional use permit also for behind the lock escape room. That will also be scheduled for next Tuesday. And then third, we do have the Kirby Warehouse Industrial Project for conditional use permit that is also scheduled for public hearing on Tuesday evening. So it'll be a busy evening for us as a commission on Tuesday. And the meetings in December are December 5th. And then we also have a regular scheduled Planning Commission meeting on December 19th. And both that's beginning at 6 o'clock. And that's all I have.
Moving on to item 11D, Planning Commissioner Reports. Director Monique Alanis Flechter.
Chair Beamsterber.
Just welcome everybody on board. It's going to be a learning experience and it's going to be exciting. So I'm looking forward to what's to come. Nothing else to report.
Vice Chair Pep.
Thank you all. I just wanted to express my gratitude to the city council for appointing me to the position and my colleagues for appointing me to vice chair. I appreciate your confidence in me as well. I just wanted to maybe ask, I believe this is a project that's in Riverside County. It's on Highway 74. It's an historical home that is, I believe, if I understand correctly, is being slated to be demolished in favor of a marijuana dispensary. I was just wondering if, I know the Planning Commission probably has no ability to review or comment on that, but I'm just wondering if there's any opportunity for the city to take a look at that and see if they think if that's a good idea or not. Thank you.
You. Commissioner Hill.
Yeah, thank you, Monique. A while back, you gave us a overview of the general plan. I think the timing might be good to do that again. Maybe add that to the future agenda items. And I'm still holding out for a McGill's Jr. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank everybody for the opportunity, and I look forward to serving the city of Hemet and the citizens.
Thank you.
I'm very honored to have been given the vote to be here. And I appreciate everybody's work, and I will thoughtfully look at everything that's brought because I do know you do put a lot of time in it. And thank you.
And if there is nothing more, we will adjourn until meeting of December 5th, 2023 at 6 p.m.